The Butt Kicker Gamer 2. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
You've been driving for a while and you feel like you've hit a plateau and you're just not improving anymore. You've upgraded your hardware, but you're still not able to be as fast as you would like. Well, guess what? I did that too, okay? I'm as guilty as you are. And that's exactly why Racine and myself created what we call the advanced way to learn. By using the techniques that we're about to show you, we were able to win national championships, and we're now coaching real-life drivers and sim racers all across the globe. So let me tell you why you absolutely need this to improve your racing skills. On this platform, you'll go through 5 learning steps. The first one is going to be to watch video lessons so you can take in all that theory. The second step will be to answer quizzes. We've created some questions to test your knowledge. Next, you'll have to partake in challenges. Here, you'll have to prove to yourself that you can apply what you've learned. You'll go on track and you'll try to beat the instructor's lap times for sector time. Following the challenge, you'll be able to send your onboard replay so instructors and other community members can help you improve. And lastly, you can get involved in the community to meet some new teammates and learn from others. This platform is a back and forth discussion between us, the instructor, and you, the students. If you're serious about becoming the best driver out there, this is the advanced way to learn.
The final time this season, we welcome you to the USA, specifically California, and to Laguna Seca, as the LMP3 GT4 Challenge rolls into California for round 6 of 9 for PRL's 2024 season number 4. Delighted to have your company here on RaceSpotTV on this Monday evening. Myself, Darren Thacker, Reese Gardner alongside me in the commentary booth. And we have got Ramiro Augustin Chineros up in the commentary booth, well, up in the broadcast booth, helping us make the broadcast look wonderful. Reese, welcome in. Delighted to have you alongside me once again. Laguna Seca. I mean, there's lots to say about this track. You wouldn't necessarily associate it with multi-class racing. I think we're going to see quite a lot here this evening. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, certainly. Laguna Seca is one of the classic American road courses, as we've seen a few times this season, going to Road Atlanta and many other fantastic tracks besides. It is a tight and twisty circuit. It's narrow, especially up the top of the circuit as well. So the LMP3s and GT4s are going to have to give each other a lot of room around here. And remember, we have a pit stop coming up through this race. Drivers will have to have practiced their pit entry because it's quite difficult here. This track is one of many fantastic venues we've gone to this season. You know, we started off at Indianapolis, going to Suzuka, Road Atlanta, Hungaroring, and Manicourt for the halfway point of the season. And we're going to close off with a trip through Europe, going to Germany, Portugal, and Austria to end off the season.
Yeah, skipping our way through some historic and quite exciting European circuits, and I'm looking forward to that over the coming few weeks. But in the standings, drop rounds are starting to be applied, so we're getting more of a real feel of what the championship is saying. And in the LMP3 drivers, Boris Lavando still has a 14-point advantage over his teammate Michael Diaz, and is looking to stretch his legs a little bit more tonight. Mobin Khan, he's been bobbling around the top two, a couple of poles this season. He's P3, looking to gain up on the top 2 as well. Zach Hebert consistency has him in P4 with Christian Garaton rounding out the top 5. A little bit of a gaggle just outside this top 5 with Fernando Rodriguez, Stephen Lakota and Ian Starker, all of them split by just 2 points. Lucas Wallace and Nikos Sanidakis rounding out the top 10, and they both are still pretty close to the rest of 6th, 7th and 8th region. In the teams though, we're looking at Solberg Precision Racing having quite a hefty lead. The two drivers leading the Drivers' Championship, helping them in the teams. Speed Squad running them as close as they can in P2, with Grant's Garage trying to catch Speed Squad in P number 3. It's Echelon Sim Sport in 4th. Sim Total Racers find themselves 5th, with Why Not P1 Scuderia Dunkersall LMP3 and Drive Trainer Motorsport P6 and 7. Championship Racing Collective, the Fenson Brothers Racing and Maradnes M Squad are your 10 teams in the LMP3s. Looking at the GT4s though, it couldn't really be much tighter. We talk about Aiden Young versus Aaron Myers, and 1 point separates them coming into this race at Laguna Seca. Drop round has come in for Aiden Young. He has raced in all of the races so far. Aaron Myers did not attend another one, so he's got Aiden Young will have some points to fall back on. Aaron Myers needs every point from here on out. Matthew Wyckoff, Myers' teammate, still in P3, but that gap has closed as Kate Smith and Michael Terrafino are looking to gain up on him for P number 3. Gabrielle Gignac and Jeremy Manella are close for P6 and 7, with Tristan Cadet, Kalen Tobin and Roy Brown, your other drivers, inside the top 10. Over in the teams, it's Chasing the Delta, who have a pretty nice margin of 80 points ahead of Team Beef. Vision Esports are running Beef close for P2, with a nice gaggle of Valhalla Motorsports, Fiercely Forward GT4 and JDL Esports for 4th, 5th and 6th. Hyperion Racing, no team, middle of the pack, are filing it out for P7, and Hamster Racing, hoping to keep themselves inside the top 10 on 147 points. But before we go racing any further and we get our hands really dirty into this qualifying session as we go through the dirt, we must, of course, thank our sponsors who make these broadcasts possible for us 5 nights a week here on RaceSpotTV. Starting, of course, with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Buttkicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every single game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself into the driver's seat with Buttkicker. Maradnes is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Marad. Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. It is, of course, a great addition to any sim room. And Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on all of their socials to become a better driver. And we thank all of our sponsors who do allow us to put on these great broadcasts every single night. Well, 5 nights of the week. You missed Friday and Saturday, but hey, every single other night. The weeknights, the school nights, we're on here on RaceSpotTV. Reese, qualifying really underway now. Really important, this qualifying session of the championship, you would suggest, as we head to Europe after this race, and no surprise, 2 title contenders in the GT4s are right at the top already.
Indeed. Aiden Young currently 2nd behind Aaron Myers, and there's less than a 1/10 of a second separating them. So this final lap here for Aiden Young is certainly going to be one of the most important laps he'll have to do tonight. Meanwhile, in the LMP3 class, Mobin Khan is on it. He's managed to set a 1:16.5 at the top of the field there. Difficult season for Mobin Khan after early successes. Maxime Granon also having some trouble there up the top of the circuit. We'll have to see if the LMP3s survive those brutal anti-cut curbs on the insides of the corners, many of the corners around here in virtual Monterey. See if Daniel Oliver can improve on his lap as well. Down in 10th at the moment. It's becoming, I think, a bit difficult for the LMP3s to really make some big improvements. For Oliver, it's a better lap time, but no improvement of position. Meanwhile, in GT4, there's Cade Smith popping up the order into P5. He did really well at Manicourt last round, was absolutely superb in the rain. Here comes Aiden Young. See if he can knock Aaron Myers off the top spot.
Yeah, and these two, of course, 1 point between them coming into this race. So much at stake, really, between them. And Aiden Young just coming up short. 18 thousandths is the difference. You touched on Mobin Khan a second ago, and he is still the only multiple pole sitter in the LMP3 this season. He's got 2. 3 other drivers have 1. He's looking to get his 3rd, and with that kind of gap, you'd be hard-pressed to deny him of that. Terrafino looking to gain up in his, his cow-looking livery. A little bit out of place in the desert of California, but he's not panicking, as it says on the back of his car, even if he wants to get himself into the top 4. And it's looking quite interesting. We're seeing Romain Faux up in the top 3 as well. He had a good race at Magny Cours. Matthew Wyckoff, though, will definitely want to be playing a bit of a supporting role for his teammate Aaron Myers, especially if he can try and attack Aiden Young off the start.
Yeah, indeed. There's going to be a lot of close racing in both of our classes tonight. I'm very hyped for this race to come. There's Jeremy Rogers improving by 1 position there in the McLaren, bumping Tristan Cadet down to P8. See what Gabriel Gignac can do here as well in the final seconds of the session. Looks like he won't be able to make it to the end of the lap with that little time remaining. It is a hard cut to the end of the qualifying session because it's solo. So yeah, once that clock hits 0, if you haven't already completed your lap, you are done. And with only 30 seconds remaining, Fernando Rodriguez here making his way into the final sector. I think with the speed of the LMP3s, maybe going to be just on the verge of getting to the end of the lap here. It's a beautiful fast dive down the hill here at Laguna Seca to that final turn. So tight, so slow. We're going to be seeing plenty of passes into here tonight, but it hasn't worked out for Fernando. He's not going to be able to improve.
One of my favourite elements of this Laguna Seca circuit is there just absolutely is no room for error. Apart from the final corner, there really isn't any kind of concrete to help you out if you have any kind of slide in the middle of the corner, and some of these are pretty high speed. It's such a challenge for the drivers, but these are the drivers that have been able to negotiate it the best. Mobin Khan will be on pole by quite a margin as well, 0.3 of a second ahead of the 2 leading drivers in the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship leaders in Michael Diaz and Boris Angel Avander. Of course, that's top 3 is reverse championship order. Zach Hebert, P4 in the championship, starts P4. Where can he go from there? Maxime Granon and Christian Garreton are going to be on row number 3. We roll on to see Eric Fenson and Stephen Lakota. They're on row 4. Eric Fenson, of course, great week last time at Magny Cours. Can he get himself back onto the podium? We'll see. Lando Tager and Daniel Oliver round out our top 10. It's Nikos Sanadakis and Kyle Harner 11th and 12th. Neither of them seeming to set a representative lap time. They'll be looking to get a little higher up the grid as they start from row number 6. And that is all the GT LMP3s that we'll have this evening. Just 12 could make traffic a little bit easier. In the GT4s, look at that margin, 18 thousandths between Aaron Myers and Aiden Young. 1 point between them in the championship. Where's it going to swing tonight? Romain Faux, P3 ahead of Matthew Wyckoff. Aaron Myers' teammate will start on row number 2. Kate Smith and Michael Terrafino, 100th between them. They're going to be starting on row number 3. We'll roll on from our top 6 as the gaps don't really open up throughout the rest of the field, and you can see that as Jeremy Rogers and Tristan Cadet, again, 7 thousandths between row number 4. Willie Brennan is the last driver within a second of our pole time, but Caelan Tobin will be looking to move up the field as he starts in 10th. Row 6 is Gabriel Gignac and Justin Bragan, but again, close to Caelan Tobin, could be an interesting battle in that midfield. Rolling on, though, after we get through our opening 6 rows, we find Kurt Ham and Jeremy Minella, who are on row number 7, Roy Brown and Travis Pruitt on row 8, and Matt Benson and Lambert Jesse, 17th and 18th. They make up row number 9 here this evening at Laguna Seca. We had 12 LMP3s. We've got 19 GT4s, rounded out by Robert McKeon. 31 cars to get us racing this evening. And we'll see what Robert McKeon can do from right at the back of the grid. Looking forward to this one, I really am. Great to see so many people in the YouTube chat as well. We love seeing you guys, particularly on a Monday night. You have Calfold, of course, Tuesday Night Superstar and the GT3s. We've got lots of support from Mobin Khan. This race is going to be crucial, isn't it? For the championship overall, we're seeing so many swings and little swings in the championship be important, and this race could be critical when we look at it in 3 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, certainly. We're approaching those final few rounds. 82 Fahrenheit on track. That's 28 degrees Celsius. It's a nice middle of the road sort of temperature as far as iRacing track temps go. So I think the drivers will have a good amount of grip available to them, and they are going to need it with how brutal this circuit can be. I mean, you can see from the aerial view just how narrow the circuit is up the top there. Down the bottom of your screen around where that bridge is, that's where the track really narrows up. The opening sector through the Andretti hairpin, through the right-handers, is reasonably wide, so you'll be able to get some good racing in there. And down here on the approach to the final corner, it is wide as well. But that section from turn 6 up to the corkscrew, man, it's going to be really difficult for the LMP3s to negotiate the GT4s. And you see that pit entry, once again, super tight. It is so slow. One of the slowest pit entries on the whole service. You're right, Darrow. This is going to be a crucial round. There's so much here for the drivers to get right, and they have to get it all right.
Even the bits that you may deem easy about this circuit, you think the run down in towards turn 1 generally would be easy. You think it may be a little bit difficult if you're fighting side by side with the car with the little kinks down in towards the Andretti hairpin. When you've got that class difference, it makes it all the more difficult. I've seen multi-class racing here before, and you see incidents on that run towards the Andretti hairpin. Miscommunications, a little bit of lack of understanding between drivers can result in incidents down there, and it's going to be something we have to watch out for. Coming up towards the corkscrew, of course, we all know how blind it is up there. Drivers, if there's like an instant up in front, especially if you're coming through in an LMP3 faster than you would in a GT4, you may struggle to avoid an incident. This is going to be really crucial, I think, for drivers to settle in early and keep their pace up, as difficult as that might sound. Also, the fact that it's not the longest of circuits. Pole times, you know, for the LMP3s, we're talking sub 80 seconds. We're going to be going around this circuit quite frequently. You're not going to have a lot of room, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting one just to see how drivers can negotiate this traffic, because that is a key word of the day. We say it quite often, particularly in this LMP3 GT4 Challenge, but at a shorter circuit like this, it's going to be all the more critical.
Yeah, the LMP3s are going to be coming up to lap the GT4s rather quickly here. There is a space of about 10 seconds per lap between those classes. So considering all of that, looks like we might be waiting until around lap 8 or so to really see them make their way through. And when they do, they better be hoping that they catch the GT4s in the wider parts of the racetrack. Well, we have flipped over from warm-up to the race, and it's time for the drivers to really get ready now as they file onto the grid. A full formation lap around here, so plenty of time to dissect exactly how they'll attack this circuit. It's a lovely, smooth track for the most part as Laguna Seca. It's been very well maintained over the years, but every single bump, every single curb counts for success here.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to this, right? It's one of those ones that we looked at the start of the season. I think this run of Manicor and Laguna Seca, we looked at the start of the season and thought they could be really interesting races, particularly not just in this championship that we have here in PRL, but just in these cars regardless. The fact that we have such tight championship battles makes it all the more exciting. Lucky us, we are going to get a full lap under the pace car to get ourselves ready. Then we're going to have 60 minutes worth of racing. Of course, last season we had 45 minutes worth of racing in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge. We've upgraded to the hour, and I really am pleased that we get the full hour now. It adds a little bit more strategy, a little bit more time for battles to progress. And the next hour is going to be so crucial for this championship. I know we say it time and time again, but I really do think we are looking forward to this one. Mobin Khan, though, he started on pole twice before this season. He's not quite then been able to carry it out for the win. Do we think that he's going to be able to make it, you know, third time lucky?
Yeah, he'll certainly be hoping. I mean, he did manage to get onto the podium at Manicor last round in wet conditions, so I think he'll definitely be able to fight for victory once again here. But he does have that precision racing duo of Boris Ovando and Michael Diaz ready to attack him at the earliest opportunity, and Diaz has had a very good run in the last few rounds. We should also keep an eye out for Eric Fenson, starting from P7 in the 77, no less. He won last round at Manicourt. He was able to play those wet conditions perfectly and was super quick. It's not wet at all here in virtual California, but I think the difficulty level is about the same, considering how narrow the circuit is, how difficult it is to nail those apexes across the top of the circuit with the big anti-cut curbs. So the drivers who take care and are smooth will be able to get success here. Of course, it has been pointed out that there is an odd number of LMP3s, and so the actual front row for GT4 has Aaron Myers starting on the outside for turn 1. That's a bit of a disadvantage for him, so we'll have to see how he plays it.
Yeah, this is going to be a critical start, and I think we may see a little bit of single file out on the LMP3. But what about the GT4s? We will see 60 minutes worth of racing. It's our final time here in the States before our European tour takes us to the end of the season. Who can claim a little bit of a march over their rivals? 1 point between the leaders in the GT4s. Reverse top 3 drivers championship on the grid in the LMP3s. 60 minutes of racing is underway here at Laguna Seca for your Monday night PRL action. And what I started is from Robin Khan. Controls it down in towards the Andretti hairpin, and they're squabbling in behind. The two teammates of Diaz and Navando will nearly go side by side into the opening turn, and it will be Zach Hebert looking for the move as they go through the double apex corner. In the GT4s, 3 wide across the line of the background, as it will be Aiden Young to try and keep the lead. Aaron Myers not able to hold it as they go around the Andretti hairpin, and it's advantage Mercedes as they go through the opening couple of turns.
Yeah, starting drivers, riders, unfortunately, given Aaron Myers a great disadvantage. They're immediately losing the lead. Well, the fighting is going on here for third on back. It looks like Michael Diaz losing a couple of places in the opening turns. He's trying to find his way back past Zach Hebert. At the moment, it's orderly in the GT4s, but Myers and Young as close as they've ever been. They are locked in a brutal fight for the championship. Young, of course, the reigning champion, but Myers has had a great turn of pace this season. For now, though, he's stuck behind that fiercely forward Mercedes.
3 wins for Aiden Young, 2 wins for Aaron Myers, 1 point between them. This is really going to go down to the wire, but it is advantage Aiden Young at the start of this race. Matthew Wyckoff, though, into P3. He may be able to help out his teammate a touch, but he is a second and a half behind already. They'll cross the line to end the opening lap here at Laguna Seca, and Mobin Khan has really built out a gap. Boris Lavando himself gaining a big gap out to Zach Hebert. You really have to say the loser off the start there was Michael Diaz. He really felt that he was going to be P2 out of the opening turn and found himself P4 and having to fight with Hebert, and really got Grenon on behind him as well.
Oh, Matt Benson. Oh, dear. Round he goes on the first lap there. Looked like that was at the exit of turn 5. Very difficult to nail the exit there. There was also a big problem further back in the GT4s for Roy Brown. He was 3 wide with Jeremy Manella and Lambert Jesse coming across the start-finish line, but that little kink that you have to negotiate on your way across the start of the lap here, unfortunately, Manella turned in a bit too aggressively for it, bumped into Lambert Jesse, and then was ping-ponged out into Roy Brown. This is how it happened, and, well, Roy Brown sent into the wall. And unfortunately for now, he's back in the garage. He towed, and I don't know if he's going to make his way back out on track after that. Aside from that, I've just seen a problem for Eric Fenson. A big problem for Eric Fenson. He's down in the garage as well. I have no idea what's going on for him there. I don't know if it's internet or what, but yeah, it looks like it is. I think he had a little bit of a problem there in terms of internet, and he has jumped into the pit lane. So, some big developments happening early on in this race, but largely our leaders have remained unaffected.
Yeah, we saw Eric Fenson almost limp back to the pit lane, so we may be able to see what happened if it wasn't an internet, but we'll have to see. I did see him dropping down the order.
Off the track.
Ah, that'll be why then. Hopefully he can get back out on circuit, because He is in pit road. We did see him moving, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Unlucky for Eric Fenson, of course. Great race last time out at Mani Core. In the GT4s, though, you can see all of the leaders running through the opening couple of corners. It is still Aiden Young in the lead, and he is still extending that gap out a touch. And he is going to be enjoying every single lap where he can just gain a tenth or two over his rival Aaron Mides, because it means that there is a little bit more window for him in the pit lane. Here is Eric Fenson, and yeah, there he goes. Off the circuit between turn 5 and turn 6, and that is not what you want to see if you're Eric Fenson, and gutting for him, especially considering it's likely a problem that's completely out of his control.
Yeah, it's, I think, mainly geography that has worked against him there. Of course, Fenson is from Australia, like myself, so we tend to have to deal with a slightly worse connection to the North American servers that PRL uses. Well, the battle for third is continuing on for the time being. Zach Hebert has remained ahead of Michael Diaz in the LMP3 class. Got Maxime Grenon really pressuring them for the time being. They are leaving Christian Garaton behind. These guys all racing sort of in the mid-117 bracket in terms of lap time. For the moment, it looks like Grenon is the fastest of the three, so we might see a bit of a change here in the next few laps. They're all keeping it careful and clean across the top of the circuit, though, and avoiding those brutal red curbs on the inside of the corners.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Fenson really does show the, and the Fenson brothers in general, really do show the international nature of this PRL series. Of course, I mean, here at RaceSpotTV, I mean, myself, of course, I'm British, you're Australian, Reese. I believe Ramiro, I'm sure he'll tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's Argentinian. And of course, we have such a big, wide base of Americans racing in the series. And it is really great to see so many people get involved from all across the world, all, you know, day and night, morning, evening, middle of the night. It's great to see, but it's a shame when it therefore creates a little bit of internet problems for a couple of people who are a little bit out on a limb. But yeah, really important start, I think, from Matthew Weigel. I know I mentioned it before, but for him to get past Romain Faux in the opening lap, I believe it was the opening corner, he's now able to try and prop up Aaron Mides, albeit he's a little bit further back. But being behind Romain Faux would have really, really handcuffed him in this race. And Aaron Mides now has that little bit more of a confidence that he may have a little bit more leeway behind him to really go and attack Aiden Young here.
Yeah, confidence is key, and unfortunately it looks like Mobin Khan, our former LMP3 leader, lost a bit of that through the corkscrew. Hit the curb, went over the rise, and almost lost it, and that allowed Boris Ovando to get through into the LMP3 lead. So, change up there. There is Ovando, and he's already extending the gap as Khan tries to get that car back under control.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's happened to Mobin Khan. Of course, Mobin Khan was leading the race, but Boris Angel Ovando now in the lead, got a second as well. We'll have to try and see what's happened to the number 64 car. As we've mentioned, had his struggles when starting on pole. It's the third race out of 6 that he has, already losing the lead. Hebert and Diaz still fighting their way through the opening couple of turns as well, with Maxime Grenon really keeping himself in this conversation. In the LMP3 Drivers' Championship, you'd expect Ovando, Diaz, Khan, Hebert to be up there. They are the top 4 in the championship. Grenon has only been here for 2 races. He's down in P17, and these could be some really useful points if he can keep himself inside the top 5.
Yeah, he's got a good potential to gain a couple of spots here as well if he executes the pit cycle right. There are plenty of overtaking opportunities around Laguna Seca, but it's generally a track where it's harder to pass than most. So if you want to get your move decisively done, likely need to do it in the pits. Looks like there's been a problem further back for Daniel Oliver. He was up in 7th spot. Now he's fallen back down to 10th and potentially 11th. Seems like he lost it ahead of Stephen Lakota and Lando Tega. Aside from that, we were looking a bit earlier at the GT4 battle for P6, and there's a long train of cars there behind Cade Smith. Plenty of close racing going on in these early stages. We are not even a 1/6 of the way through this race. There is Lakota and Tega, who now occupy 7th and 8th, and You'll see that Fernando Rodriguez is a long way behind them, to say nothing of Daniel Oliver, who's now rounding out the top 10. Let's see if Lando will be able to pass Steven here. Lando, in past rounds, he's been one of the more aggressive of the LMP3 drivers, especially in traffic. So we'll see if he can modify that a little bit for a clean pass on Lakota, if he is indeed faster. For the time being, it seems like they're very well matched on lap time.
Yeah, and they may be shadowing each other for a little while. We'll see if they can keep themselves in this, you could call it a train. They haven't. Oh, no, that's a bit wide, though. That's Stephen Lakota going wide, and through does go Lando Tega. Meanwhile, battle for P3. Zach Hebert and Michael Diaz are going to be fighting it out up there, as we do see Tega and Lakota dive their way through the corkscrew. But Hebert and Diaz were fighting. I think they went side by side through the corkscrew themselves. We saw them swapping on the tower. We might have to see if we can grab a replay of what happened there. But all of that right in the face of Maxime Grenon. He wasn't able to take advantage either way.
Yeah, difficult when you start coming up on traffic. Here's what happened to Lakota, and oh man, he caught one of those curbs that I was talking about there. Big instability in the car. He did manage to recover it and keep it straight, but that is a position lost to Lando Tega. So we'll see if he can fight his way back in the pit cycle, or potentially take advantage of a mistake in traffic. The LMP3s are making their way through the GT4s now. This is the number 12 of Cade Smith. He's got Tobin and Cadet not too far behind him. There's been a few complaints from the BMW drivers about how the car handles around Laguna Seca. Tends to be a bit of a plowing aircraft carrier of a car, that new BMW M4. But I tell you what, Tristan Cadet is doing quite well to keep himself in that fight for the top 7.
Yeah, and lots of stickers on the back of Cade Smith's car there. I was noticing there was a Texas A&M badge, and I will say, I don't know how much he cares about their college football program, but I know they got a big win at the weekend, so he may be driving pretty pleased. Terrafino just in front there. You can see them going side by side through the final corner in the foreground there. Foe and Terrafino, then 14 and the 94. They're running up towards turn 1, and we'll see if Foe can hold that line in towards the opening 10. You can see them in the foreground, outside line for Romain Foe. I believe he is what he was going for, but just up in front of Cade Smith, we are seeing Romain Foe, and I think he has now claimed that position on Michael Terrafino as they run their way through. Yeah, they're coming through the foreground, and it's the number 14 ahead of the 94, but that was a close battle in the final corner.
Yeah, Terrafino was taking advantage of the LMP3s coming through and decided to dive up the inside of Foe at the final corner, and Roman was almost run off the track there, but he was able to gear up the exit. As I've said multiple times in the past, the outside line is not the worst place to be, especially around a slow corner. Little mistake there from Cade Smith. I've been watching Cade, especially up the top of the circuit here. He's one of the drivers who's tended to run a bit far beyond those curbs. He'll be picking up off tracks, and he might be in danger as a result. Remember, in PRL, there's only a 15 incident limit before you get a drive-through penalty. And I think more than a few drivers will be in trouble of that, having gotten a lot of off tracks here in only the first 8 laps.
But this is some really good lapping, isn't it, from the LMP3s at the moment, up to this point. Through the corkscrew, it looks tricky, but into the final corner, oh, it looked all nice and calm, but they're side-by-side multi-class behind. But I think everybody has got through without too much hassle, and which is great to see. These will, of course, be the most difficult parts of the race for overtaking. That is not the line, though. That is Lando Tega going in too deep. Stephen Lakota looked for the move, but Tega managing to keep his position. Won't be too pleased about that, but he really dived to the inside in a position where I think he would have been very lucky to make that move work.
Yeah, big lock-up coming into the first turn, and now he has to try and find his way through here. Meanwhile, Lakota 3 wide with a GT4 and Fernando Rodriguez, who slips through to take the position. That was Romain Foe that they just passed on the inside there, and you see the cow print car of Terrafino behind, looking to take advantage. Lakota goes off the circuit, and now he's completely lost touch with Tega and Rodriguez. Daniel Oliver, fortunately for him, gaining an extra position out of that. Already we're seeing some big dramas lapping these GT4s, and yeah, you see that Tega, once again, a little bit optimistic on that pass attempt. Seen that a few times from him this season. I think he tends to overestimate the braking capabilities of that Ligier JSP320.
Great opportunistic move, though, from Fernando Rodriguez to get himself up into P8 down at turn 5. Really did commit to the inside, and a beautiful move to get him in a position to try and strike towards Lando Tega for P7. They are now coming up to the back of our two leaders, Aaron Myers and Aiden Young. Negotiated with Aaron Myers, has Lando Tega now just got the one more GT4, or he will have a little bit of time to breathe before too much more traffic. But for Aiden Young, that gap has stayed pretty stagnant between himself and Aaron Myers. They have been able to, grow that out quite impressively to Matthew Wyckoff. Now over 5 seconds between the two teammates, Myers and Wyckoff. And really, it's going to be a battle, you think, pretty soon between the two of them. Wyckoff not going to be able to do too much from back there.
Yeah. Wyckoff, the lap times are all messed up at the moment because the LMP3s are making their way through on them. But in terms of best laps, it seems like Myers has a ultimate 4/10 advantage over Matthew Wyckoff over a single lap. Those chasing the Delta guys tend to race cleanly with each other and help each other out when the time comes. That's a very nice view of the pit tower there, as there's an attempt here from Lakota to try and find his way back past Daniel Oliver for 9th. Yeah, I don't know if Wyckoff will be able to catch up. He'll have to rely on traffic for Young and Myers, and for the time being, our championship contenders in GT4 are just minding their own business out the front.
Yeah, it's Daniel Oliver nearly losing position to Stephen Lakota, who seems to have enjoyed most of this track apart from turn 6 so far today, having that little moment and then going wide as we saw not too long ago. But he's looking to get back past Daniel Oliver, and then he can start to think about Fernando Rodriguez and Lando Tega, as these guys haven't gapped out too much. In the battle for P7 in the GT4s, though, it's Kalen Tobin taking the initiative to the inside line with the Andretti hairpin, and he's up into P7 now. Gabriel Gignac immediately under pressure from Tristan Cadet. Jeremy Rogers is in here as well. This is a nice gaggle of cars at the back end of the top 10.
Yeah, we were looking at this battle a little bit earlier, and Cade Smith was at the front of it. And, well, you saw that little flash down the bottom of the screen just there. That was Cade Smith. He's gotten a huge advantage over all of them for the time being. But there are 6 cars in this train, 7 if you include Jeremy Manella hanging off the back. Manella still carrying some damage from his start line incident. And across the top of the circuit, over the hill, up to the corkscrew, Tobin will lead the charge here. One of perhaps the only Aston Martin consistently in the field this season, but he is struggling to keep Gignac behind him in the nimble Porsche Cayman. And meanwhile, that truck of a BMW M4 of Tristan Cadet is making a very good case for this car's capabilities around here. A little bit of a poor run for Gignac, making his way down to the final corner. But the exit, once again, is with Kalen Tobin, and they'll be desperately trying to get some kind of gap on the rest of this pack here.
Gabriel Gignac on that last lap, flashing the lights so much, it's almost like he's trying to blind Kalen Tobin in front of him. It just kept going every single straight, clearly unhappy in that GT4 car at the moment, but he'll try and make the move. Not able to do into turn 3. He'll have to go again, probably, and into the Andretti hairpin in about a minute's time. There's an LMP3 at the back of this trying to come through. Could very well be Chris Massey, who was dropped off the back of the pack in terms of the LMP3s, although it could really be anybody, as we are already into that. We've already lapped the GT4 stage, and it could really be anybody on the circuit at the moment. But this is a good little battle in the GT4s at the moment, as we look on board with Justin Bracken up towards turn 6, and inside line from that LMP3 may give him a run as we run up towards the corkscrew. But so difficult to make moves here, particularly in these wider cars when a downforce isn't necessarily your friend through here, and everyone line of stern. Gignac so keen to get through and taking some alternative lines as well.
Yeah, he's got great traction out of the corkscrew, hasn't he? Seems like that's the Cayman's real strength around here. But Kalen Tobin has been able to nail the exit of pretty much every other corner to keep Gignac behind him. That V8 Aston Martin pulling its power here down the start-finish straight. And you are correct, that is Chris Massey there in the LMP3 making his way past, and it's cleanly done around the outside of these GT4s on the way down to turn 1. Tobin once again defensive here versus Gignac. This is the drive of his life, I think, and it's mostly being done in the mirrors. Once again, great traction for Gabriel Gignac. It seems like corner exits are where he's strong, but he can't take advantage. There's not enough space for him to make a move, or is there? He gets up the inside, and there's contact, and around he goes. Avoiding action having to be taken there for Tristan Cadet, and that's going to bring the teammates of Rogers and Bragan into the fold here. Not the best of re-entries onto the circuit either. It looks like Kurt Ham had to take avoiding action to avoid him running into the back. That's been a big change in that fight. Tristan Cadet now falling behind Rogers and Bragan. Kalen Tobin all on his own at the front of that pack. Meanwhile, Aiden Young and Aaron Myers battling on track as they have this whole season. This is very quick driving from the both of them, and they're very well matched. For now, it looks like Myers might be the faster of the two. He was on the last lap, and he has been on that last lap there, taking just over a 10th out of Aiden Young.
Yeah, Gabriel Gignac, at turn 5, we'll have to see if we can see it again, because he wasn't happy. He may have gone for a late move, but the rage on as well, not the best. Luckily enough, everybody able to avoid a big collision. Aiden Young and Aaron Myers coming to the scene of the accident now. Of course, it's long gone. Aaron Myers, though, you just said how he's been gaining. It's going to be really interesting. This is the incident for Gabriel Gignac, getting the front end turn. Difficult to see from that angle. Really, you know, how much of the car was alongside, how late the send was, but that rejoin right onto the racing line, not his finest, and I think he'd probably admit that, but seems to be running a little bit hot at the moment. Lots of flashing of the likes. A half of the driver he wasn't happy with, and he's not going to be a very happy man in that GT4 right now.
Certainly not. I mean, he got a great exit once again. That's where his advantage was over Tobin, but yeah, that turn is not really a place you tend to see passing in the same class, so potentially a bit optimistic from Gignac. Tobin had already turned in by the time he'd gotten alongside, and in a GT4, once you commit to a corner, you are stuck there. This is the secondary view of it. You see Gignac pokes it up the inside there, and there was some overlap, but I think if Tobin had given him room, then he would have definitely run off the circuit.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting battle. We're only 21 minutes into this race. This battle can run and run and run. For the time being, these two very closely matched, and we'll have to see if Aaron Myers can make a move. This is Chris Massey, rear end going around at the corkscrew, and that is one horrible, horrible place to be facing the wrong way, because you can't even see the traffic coming over the hill there, can you?
No, and there's not much room for you to get sort of pointed the right way. You see Massey had to try and do a three-point turn there, but I think he gave up on that pretty quickly. He's back in the garage now. Hopefully he'll be able to make his way back out on track. Speaking of cars getting back on track, Roy Brown, who we saw involved in that start crash in GT4, after 6 minutes spent in the lane, he's come back out. So amazingly enough, we still have all 19 of our GT4 starters running in this race.
Which is great to see. It's not a circuit where you'd necessarily expect everyone to finish, but we are having a good clean start. Willie Brenham, going around, holding his brakes nicely as well there. Oh, not then though. Trying to get it back around. This could be sketchy. Let's see. Oh my word. It's just, the corkscrew is, I genuinely believe, the worst place to be facing the wrong way, at least on this calendar.
And the great irony is, the corkscrew, it's very easy to lose it and point the wrong way, isn't it? The whole reason Brennan had to do that in the first place was because he went a bit beyond the curbs there through the right-hander. And you do that through the dip. There's no grip on the right side of the car, and you just whip around. Really a shame. Here's that onboard that you were asking for from Gabriel Gignac. Let's see his view of this. Yeah, he definitely had the run, but I don't know. I feel like maybe the inside move wasn't entirely justified there.
Yeah, I think Gignac will say he was far enough alongside to get a little bit of room, and I think Galen will say, well, why on earth are you trying to send it there? And we'll have to see what is said after the race about that one. We'll allow other people to pick the bones out of that. This is Cade Smith. What's happened to him? Has he gone pop, through the opening turn? Yes, the car spinning around on him. But at least from there, you can reverse a little bit, find a good place to get yourself straight. And there's a good battle coming through there as well. You can see on the live shot in the bottom right-hand side there that Aaron Myers, I thought he was about to say he was gaining on Aiden Young, but actually he had to back off a bit as an LMP3 came through. That might give Aiden Young a little bit more breathing room, but regardless, these two still very, very close together through the first 25 minutes of the race. Seeing a couple of people speculating in YouTube chat about why that could be the case. Some saying that Aiden's playing the strat. We've seen him try that before, but Jeff Calfold making a very good point that you don't necessarily strategize to, you know, save a little bit of fuel, but then allow your rival to save fuel by being in the draft.
Yeah, I think it's more just a case that they're very closely matched and they're finding advantages in different places at different times. Mobin Khan, meanwhile, under a bit of pressure from Zach Hebert here for second. Boris Ovando has just jetted away from them. He leads by nearly 5 seconds now at the top of the LMP3 field. So I think Mobin will just have to settle for second at best here after starting from pole. It was a very crucial mistake he made in the corkscrew back on lap 4 to allow Ovando through. Well, we shall see exactly how that turns out as pit stops are starting to become a thing. Already saw Michael Terrafino make his way into the pits in the Cowprint 94 GT4, and Stephen Lakota has made his way into the lane, but I don't think it's for a scheduled pit stop. He's been there for quite some time.
Yeah, and at 37 seconds, it seems, that number stopped on, unless that will continue to go up. Not looking good for Stephen Lakota, although I think he may be emerging from the pit lane. I can't see, or that's a GT4 actually, so I think he may be out of the pit lane, which could be good for him, but still a lap down, not in the best of positions. Nice little split screen that we have here in these battles. 5 tenths between P2 in the LMP3s, 4 tenths between the top 2 in the GT4s. This is what we want to see, isn't it? I mean, we've had such good battles all the way through the season, but to have these guys so close and for really big points in the championship, swings, even though there aren't many points to swing, there could be a lot by the end of the season.
Yeah, remember, we're only going to have 3 rounds to go once we're done here tonight. So we're getting to the pointy end of this championship season. Mobin Khan at the pointy end of this campaign to get through GT4s here. Had to compromise a bit on that lap, and that's allowed Hebert ever closer to him. Hebert, of course, has gotten some good results this season, a couple of podiums, and he'll be very happy with his points total so far. Not much space to slipstream around Laguna Seca. This front straight is really your only opportunity to slipstream and get by cleanly. For now, Mobin Khan just holding on, but I did see he had a couple of internet problems as well. He was blinking slightly, so every single blink is a little distraction for the car behind.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if that affects Hebert a little bit more as we run our way through the rest of this race, but for the time being, they look okay. P2 and P3. I touched upon it actually when we were running through the championship standings right at the top of the show, how Zach Hebert's consistency has got him up to where he is in the championship. His drop round is 40 points. You know, really, really impressive stuff from Zach Hebert. Really being able to keep the momentum up. I mean, consistency, the same can be said for Stephen Lakota. He's P7 in the championship. His drop round is 41. But this kind of result, when you're 29 points back in the championship, a move to get through on Mobin Khan could be absolutely critical and can give you those points you need, especially when Ovando is looking to extend that lead, the lead in the championship as he leads here.
Yeah, there was almost a move a little earlier for Hebert and Khan. They were side by side on the way to the corkscrew, but Zach wasn't able to fully get alongside. Speaking of the corkscrew, Aiden Young having to make a compromise there, and oh dear, compromise on the exit as well. That's probably going to be what Aaron Myers needs here to get it done, but Myers is on the outside there coming down the hill. You go down 9 stories worth of elevation change at the in the final sector of this track, and unfortunately for Myers, the advantage presented itself, but he couldn't take it.
No, and it's a fantastic defensive move from Aiden Young to keep the lead there. Really made sure that Aaron Myers knew that the door was going to close, and Aaron Myers, respect shown from both of them, wasn't going to risk any kind of contact. In towards the Andretti hairpin, inside line for Aiden Young. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. Aaron Myers trying the up and under just a little bit, but he's not got enough of an overlap or any overlap at all to make that one stick. And Aiden Young survives for now, nearly halfway through the race. One more LMP3 in the train to come through, and then they've got a little bit more time to fight this one out. But for Aaron Myers, that's his best opportunity yet to get himself ahead of the 427.
Yeah, indeed. Oh man, this is quite difficult for both Young and Myers. You know, they're battling the LMP3s and the track as much as they're battling each other. This is going to be a very tight battle. Remember, both of these guys still have yet to come into the pit lane, and I think the undercut is going to be a big opportunity for Aaron Myers. If he's been saving a bit of fuel there behind Aiden Young, and he'll be able to get a slightly quicker pit stop. It looks like that's what's happened between Michael Terrafino and Romain Faux. Remember, Faux was ahead of Terrafino before their pit cycles. Well, Faux was a little bit slower in the pit box, probably putting a bit more fuel in his McLaren, so Terrafino's made his way past that black McLaren that was running so well at Manicourt last week. Meanwhile, this battle for second in LMP3 looks to still be falling the way of Mobin Khan, but you see that Hebert is just creeping up on him here, and Khan having to slow up in the corkscrew brings Hebert right back into it. Got to be careful here. It looks like that's Justin Bragan that they're making their way past in the Mercedes, and Bragan gives them room there to get on through. Here comes Zach Hebert for another run here as Bragan's teammate Jeremy Rogers has to make way for them into the final corner. This is so tight.
Great battling towards the front of the field for positions that could be critical in this race. Good split screen as well that we've got as we pass half distance. 30 minutes gone, 30 minutes to go, as we have critical championship battles ongoing. In the LMP3s, the entirety of the top 4 is the top 4 in the championship. The order could be critical for the championship. In the GT4s, Aiden Young and Aaron Myers, 3/10 between them. But here is Mobin Khan being pressed by Zach Hebert, having to check up a little bit through turn number 4, not what he would have wanted, and Hebert has a run. He just runs out of track before we get onto the stoppers at turn 5, and from here you're going to be hard pressed to make a move in these LMP3s before we get back to the Andretti hairpin at turn 1.
See how close they run to that anti-cut curb there. If they were a few millimeters further to the left, then they would be bouncing off that and into the gravel trap. So tight across the top of the circuit here. For now, I think Hebert's main chance is going to be through the pit cycle. We still haven't seen scheduled pit stops for the majority of our LMP3s. It looks like both of our classes are majority running long here in the first stint. There's been a lot of different strategies employed over the course of this season. Some rounds we've seen the LMP3s pit early, some rounds we've seen the GT4s pit early, but it looks like both of them this time round, they're going as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, we've seen it go either way, but I'd be interested to see what the what Young and Myers do, and whoever pits first, what do the drivers do then? Do we see Aaron Myers pit first and wait to see when Aiden Young pits? Do we see the reverse? Are they going to pit immediately after each other, or are they going to try and eke it out? We're going to have to wait and see. This is Boris Lavando. I think it's the first time we've seen him all season, actually.
Yeah.
Which is nice to see, our championship leader in the LMP3s. We do love a good driver cam with the drivers, and nice to see, got some nice pictures behind. Looks like he's in quite a nice environment as well. So we see you see a vast variety of drivers in different places, but Avando looks like he's in the zone there.
Yeah, certainly is. I saw that pop. I was like, oh, that's what he looks like. You know, you always have that element of mystery, I think, in sim racing, when, you know, your only representation of who someone is what their car looks like, right, for the most part. But you see them on Zoom and you get a little bit more of a context for the human behind the pixels, as it were.
Yeah, and it's nice to know, especially after we speak to him most weeks with him doing so well in an interview. It's so great to see Boris there. And he still lead by 5 seconds in this race. Aaron Myers and Aiden Young. I mean, Aiden Young practically pushing. So Aaron Myers practically pushing Aiden Young through turn number 3. Careful with a little bit of LMP3 traffic behind, who will negotiate them for turn number 5. But these two, I mean, they have been the mark for so long in the GT4s, but neither of them have won in the GT4 at this circuit in PRL history. There have been 4 winners, and they are James David, Carlos Lopez, Justin Raymond, Floyd Kerr, most recently Floyd Kerr, back in May of this year, but neither of these two winning. You'd be hard-pressed to say if they turn up to another race here that one of them wouldn't win again.
Yeah, they're head and shoulders above the rest of the GT4 field, as they have been for most of the season, aside from the wet round at Manicourt. Mobin Khan there, again, with some slight technical problems, and the LMP3s making their way through there has made Aaron Myers lose a bit of time to Aiden Young. I thought he would have gone for the pit lane that time around just to minimize the disadvantage, but apparently not. So as the field makes their way through, the likes of Khan, Hebert, Diaz. In fact, we were speaking about Khan and Hebert battling with each other earlier. It looks like Diaz has caught back up to them after his earlier issues. So keep an eye out for that 3-way battle for second. In LMP3, Tristan Cadet, meanwhile, bit of contact with the LMP3s as they came through the corkscrew. Such a tough place to run side by side, and poor Tristan in the BMW having to take it easy there. It looks like that might have been, I think, Lando Tega locking up into the corkscrew and recovering alongside the BMW, and it just looked like a clumsy coming together.
Yeah, and again, horrible place to be stuck for Tristan Cadet. Just a quick point on the stat I read just a moment ago. Fastest pole lap here was a 16.9 for the GT4. Sadly, we weren't able to quite get that by a tenth. I may have got the time wrong, but we were a tenth off with the pole time here this evening. But in the LMP3s, I've double-checked, and we did see Mobin Khan smash the fastest pole lap here at Laguna Seca in the LMP3s, half a second. So if nothing else, you'll have his name on a spreadsheet, on the record spreadsheet, in this race as a pole sitter. But he'd be liking to get the win. That gap between himself and Ovando is shrinking. It was 5 seconds when we looked at Ovando's driver cam, down to 3 now.
Yeah, remember Ovando was just making his way through on that gaggle of GT4s there, so that's the reason why he would have lost some of that time. We'll keep an eye on the gap, though, to see if it goes down anymore. I think Khan's only other opportunity to get past Ovando or even catch up to him in the first place is the pit stop. We still haven't seen that for most of our drivers. Fernando Rodriguez and Maxime Grenon here fighting over P7, as it looks like Diaz has passed Hebert for 3rd in class. And that happened, I think, down at turn 1 potentially. Not too sure. Actually, hang on a minute. No, it happened up the top of the circuit. I think Hebert's made a mistake.
Yeah, we might have to see about this one. We'll have to see if we can grab a replay. But the 5.11 of Zach Hebert is now a little bit further back from Michael Diaz. He hasn't lost, you know, a big chunk of time. May have just been a little bit of a wide moment and it cost him a couple of seconds, but still, absolutely not what he would want in that 5.11 car. Do you have anything on that there, Reese?
Yeah, it's the apex of turn 6. You know, I keep harping on about it for this exact reason. That anti-cut curb going through the dip on your way up onto the straight up to the corkscrew. Hebert just cut the corner a little too much here. See, there's Diaz actually making the pass, but Hebert off into the gravel trap because he hit that curb and it really unsettled the car. Big bounce, and he was off into the gravel trap. I'm amazed that that didn't balloon into a greater incident there for Hebert. Certainly had the car under control, but maybe needs to be a bit more precise at that corner. Oh, here's Garaton in the lane.
I was going to say, maybe he might be happy to still be emerging in P4 after that. But yes, Garaton in the pit lane. He's a part of that group of cars that was in the gaggle around the mid part of the top 10. We'll see where he can come out. I suspect it's around Sanidakis, if not ahead of him. But he is out of the pit lane and will be right around Nikos Sanidakis on the pit exit. Of course, the pit exit does favour the drivers coming out of the pit lane with that tighter line through the Andretti hairpin. 38 minutes have gone, no pit stops at the front of the GT4s. Aiden Young, Aaron Myers tracking each other like two lions in the long grass, just looking at each other from a distance, trying to suss each other out and what they're going to do. Aaron Myers undoubtedly being able to fuel save a little bit more in the slipstream of Aiden Young. Has Aiden Young been trying to fuel save, which is the cause of Aaron Myers being so close? We will wait and find out, I'm sure, when we talk to them at the end of the race, if they do manage to get themselves on the podium, which I'm almost certain that they will. We'll have to see what the strategy was. But Aaron Myers, you have to be right on the tail out of the final corner to make a move down into turn 1. Slipstream not incredibly powerful, and you really, really have to get that good exit to make any kind of move into turn 1. Otherwise, you're just following nose to tail once again.
Yeah, nose to tail around the whole circuit has been the case for these guys. You know, I think the two of them realize that an on-track pass probably isn't going to happen. It's going to be all about that run through the pit stops. For the moment, I think Aaron Myers might be the one with the advantage there. Meanwhile, our LMP3 leaders have made their way into the pits. Ovando and Khan over there on the right-hand side of your screen. Michael Diaz going to continue on a bit further, as is Zach Hebert. I'm wondering if anyone's going to join Ovando and Khan on the pit lane here.
And, well, we've seen Diaz and Hebert go through. Tega, Grenon, they might join, but they are a long way back from our leading quartet, aren't they? So I think it's about a 25-second gap between Zach Hebert and Lando Tega, as Boris and Lavando will emerge. 13.3 seconds stationary. What of Mobin Khan? 12.9, so shaving a few tenths off there, but it's not going to be miraculous. They're going to emerge out of the pit lane. Ovando ahead of Khan. Ovando ahead of Tega. Khan should be behind. Or is that, or is that a car lap down? Oh, it's a car lap down, my bad.
Yes, that is Stephen Lakota, who we saw with that very long pit stop earlier, 37 seconds in the lane for Stephen. So he's got very little chance of even finishing on the lead lap now, considering our leaders have just taken their stop, and Ovando's out ahead of him. So still classified a lap down will be Stephen Lakota once the pit cycle is complete. 19 minutes almost on the clock here today. And as far as on-track battles go, not a huge amount. There's just Young and Myers and then Ham and Terrafino in the GT4s. Meanwhile, in comes Diaz and Hebert responding to Ovando and Khan. And remember, Khan is really the driver they're battling here. Let's see how their pit stops go. So running around low 13s, high 12s in the pit stop for these guys. Diaz should be coming up to that very shortly, but it's a little bit longer for Diaz. That's 14 seconds for the both of them, actually. I think they will end up losing out to Mobin Khan there. Indeed, they have. Khan is a long way ahead.
Diaz having to settle to be in P3. So realistically, we've come out of the pit stop phase, kind of where we started. But even still, Zach Hebert may be still looking for a P3 after his little incident down at turn 6 that happened all by himself. Khan has been gaining on Boris and Lavando. Can he make that pay with 18 minutes left on the clock? Still awaiting pit stops down here in the GT4s. They have 12 seconds back to Matthew Wyckoff, who himself has another 21 seconds back to Kalen Tobin, who of course has been leading that train for quite a while. It's gapped out of touch. There's drivers in the pit lane, so it's difficult to say exactly where they are. But those guys still staying out for the time being. And we've seen it a lot this season. GT4s have pushed it long, and they're doing it again today. How far can they push it? Nearly at three-quarter distance now.
Yeah, and it's been pushing the whole way through for both Young and Myers. I mean, it's been amazing to see the battle between these two this season. Pretty much every race this season, aside from Manicourt, we've seen these two pressure each other the whole way and fighting for those top two positions. They are locked head-to-head in a battle for the championship. Myers, of course, missing the last round, so that will be his drop, but crucially, his drop round will be 0 points. And look at them. They're both coming into the pit lane now. It's going to be a battle of the pit crews here for GT4.
And with only a few tenths between them, this is going to be down to, you know, the barest of margins. Can they both stop onto their marks properly? Let's find out as they get themselves into their boxes. Aiden Young will be behind Aaron Myers. Aaron Myers, of course, took pole position in this race. Wasn't his first this season. In fact, it was his 4th out of 6 races. He wasn't able to convert it down in towards turn 1, but who will emerge from their pit box first? Aaron Myers has the lead in the pit lane. Aiden Young has the lead out on track,
that's
and he will
long for
have it out of
Myers.
the pit lane. That's a very, very long stop, and it's a few seconds back. I think, actually, Aaron Myers may have been off of his pit box a little bit. Had to go through Aiden Young. The pit stop time is exactly the same, but Aiden Young is able to be emerging from the pit lane some 3-4 seconds ahead of Aaron Myers, and for Myers, that's disaster.
Yeah, the car just didn't go anywhere coming out of the box, did it? Ah, man, what happened to Myers there? Did he just miss the cue? Was he in the wrong gear? I honestly don't know. But regardless, that's just handed the lead, a very clear lead, to Aiden Young.
He will now feel very comfortable with the advantage that he has. So big moments in the GT4s, and Aaron Myers having to get through on Jeremy Rogers for P2, as I do a little bit of name smash there. Through we go turn 6 with Boris Lavando, because Mobin Khan, hello, we've gapped ourselves out in the GT4s, it's tightened up in the LMP3s. Is Khan going to get back through for the lead?
Yeah, this is the question. Right in the middle of this battle here. Oh, Khan off the circuit. Oh, Jeremy Rogers almost had to take avoiding action there. Khan was right on the brakes. We got an explanation thanks to our YouTube spectators. Aaron Myers was too far forward in the pit lane. He had to reverse back into his box. So, I mean, it's exactly what you said, Dara. Disaster for Aaron Myers. He was driving so well, but it all came down to not hitting his marks.
And I am certain that will have come down to, partially at least, the fact that he had Aiden Young stopped in the box directly in front. This is Mobin Khan. Look, you can see he tried to go for the inside line there on the GT4, but the GT4 was yielding to Boris Lavando by keeping to the inside, meaning that Mobin Khan had nowhere to go in the end, had to go off the track, and really is lucky to stay in P2. Michael Diaz isn't far back at all. We haven't seen much battling, it's fair to say, in the LMP3s, but we've seen the tightest race where the top 4 stood by only 7 seconds. It still could close in the final 40 minutes, and Mobin Khan still has a chance to get towards the back of Boris Lavando. Of that, there is no doubt. He's got a little bit of clean air now. He really, though, has to use it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how much the gap can ebb and flow in traffic, right? And I think we might see that for the GT4 lead as well. Aiden Young getting past left, right, and center on that lap, and the gap between himself and Myers is still around 4.7 seconds on my timing, but if he has to yield to LMP3s in an inconvenient place, then that will be Aaron Myers managing to grab a little more of an advantage. Christian Garaton, meanwhile, has retired from the race. That happened a couple of laps ago. It was actually when Myers and Young got into the pit lane. It was Willie Brennan in the McLaren that unfortunately came together with him up at the corkscrew, and so crash for Garaton. Well, we're in the final 14 minutes of the race, about to enter the final 13, and Boris Ovando, well, he's still having to find his way past GT4s here. Mobin Khan still looking faster, took 2/10 out of him on the last lap. So can Mobin beat those gremlins down and find his way back to the front? This is a great fight.
Yeah, able to negotiate the traffic nicely as well at the exit of the corkscrew, so he's able to get up towards the back of Boris Ovando, who himself having to almost flick himself to the inside there to avoid the GT4 with the overspeed that he has. And you can see Mobin Khan is gaining and gaining and gaining. That gap was 2.5 seconds just a couple of minutes ago. It's now down to just 1.1. Here's Romain Faux in this race. He pitted very early. It was noted by Jeff Kaufhold earlier that Terrafino undercut him, and you can see that really now on the timing tower. Terrafino is a long way ahead of Romain Faux, whose strategy has not worked out the best for him. Nice to see him racing once again tonight in the PRL. In the LMP3s though, Khan, 0.8 of a second. It's closing, he's gaining. This is going to happen again. We're going to be on for a battle for the lead with 12 minutes or so to go here, Reese.
1.4 seconds taken out of Ovando on the last lap. And again, GT4 in the most inconvenient spot on the circuit. That's Kurt Ham in the third of our McLarens here. Actually fourth. There's 4 McLarens in the field tonight. And oh, another blink for Khan. Oh, I mean, his connection is holding strong, but every time that car blinks off the circuit, I just wonder, is that going to be the death knell for Mobin Khan's connection?
We really hope that he can get himself to the end of this race. It would be absolutely devastating for him and really for the championship. Not just his, but a battle that we're watching all through the season. If he was to disconnect, we hope that he can stay in. He's only got 11 minutes to hold on. And wherever his internet is, I hope it does stay with us. But this is looking good for Mobin Khan. He is clearly the faster driver in this second stint. Possibly a chance that Ovando may have underfueled the car slightly. It's unlikely, but he definitely is slower in this second stint than the first. Mobin Khan knows that. He is trying to capitalize it and trying to take home his first win of the season. He gains now within half a second of our leader in the 222.
Yeah, through that right-hander on the exit, Ovando had a big oversteer moment, and this is going to be inconvenient for Khan this time. That's Gabriel Guignac there, who has to take some avoiding action himself. So the gap will balloon out a little more there in Ovando's favor, but man, Mobin Khan is coming. We're about to enter the final 10 minutes, and he definitely looks to have the advantage here. Ovando is being as careful as he can with the GT4s, but he's getting compromised at every turn here.
In towards the final corner we do go. Khan, one GT4 between himself and Boris Ovando. He should be able to get past both of these GT4s in towards the Andretti hairpin. He really needs to, as we somehow, mirage ourselves through the wall. Mobin Khan will be able to get to the inside of the opening turn, will be able to keep tabs with Boris Ovando, and he needs to be able to keep doing this. The closer he can get to Ovando, the easier that will be to do. If that gap stays about a second, he's going to find it difficult, especially if a GT4 is slotted between them into one of these high-speed corners where the pace difference between the two machines is quite significant.
Yeah, it's always in these really fast corners where you see the most pace difference between them. I mean, every time I see Ovando enter a corner, you can tell he's driving desperately to try and keep the gap up. He's going beyond the curbs on entry. He's just touching the gravel to widen the entry into the corners. Exit of the corkscrew, has to stay behind the McLaren of Jeremy Rogers, and Mobin Khan will be looking at that and thinking, yes, please, sir. Unfortunately for Khan, well, he's got a couple of fast turns to make his way through here. Can he get his way past Romain Faux in time for the final turn? He certainly can. Faux yields to him on the way in, and the gap has come down to 1.3 seconds once again.
If you're Mobin Khan right now, you're feeling that the racing gods are now against you. You've just been hit by these GT4s in the worst places, while Boris Ovando has been able to negotiate them in nicer circumstances, albeit not perfect, but still a little bit nicer. This is what happened to Christian Garreton. He, of course, has retired. And that's why his rear wing fell off the car. There it goes. After contact with the GT4 up towards the corkscrew. Difficult to see from that angle exactly what unfolded.
On live pictures, Khan's gone through.
The inside line at turn number 4. He's got through. Ovando has been haunted by the traffic once again. Khan takes the lead, 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, Jeremy Manella there on the exit of turn 3, I believe, just came off the curb a little too early and, if anything, moved over on Ovando as he was coming through. That majorly unsettled the 222. And now Mobin Khan has gotten into the lead of the race. This is what happened here. Ovando getting up the inside, but you see the Manella comes off the curb and hits him. Oh man, Ovando won't be happy about that. Mobin Khan was right there and said, yeah, the door's open. I'm just going to walk straight through.
Yeah, on Thursday night, Boris and Lavando wouldn't like to see any
Ovando's pinning
costumes out for Halloween. Oh my
He's gotten
word!
damage.
Oh, damage! Oh, damage! Oh no, for Boris and a championship leader, Boris Angel Lavando. He should be able to if the damages aren't too bad.
It's not damage, it's a black flag. How did he get the black flag? Hang on. Okay, so hang on a minute. I think he got the black flag for speeding into the pits. He's obviously gotten some damage from that contact with Manella. Let's see what happened here. Oh, okay. And I don't know if it was an unsafe entry there for him.
Oh my!
What on earth? I mean, the race is just. It's turned.
Yeah, but he's on the circuit again. Has he served a drive-through?
Oh, drive-through for incidents.
Yeah, incident limit there with the contact with Manella. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. He's back out on the circuit. He's 3 seconds behind Maxime Grenon. Either way, frantic couple of minutes, and the 222 has dropped from 1st to 5th. Mobin Khan and Diaz, that has... their eyes have widened at the sight of that. This is the opportunity they needed. 14 points was the lead that Boris Angel Lavando had coming into this race. His drop points is 48, so he has that to fall back on, and I think he will fall back on that with the points he's getting here this evening. But either way, not what Ovando wanted when he was leading 2 minutes ago.
Oh man, how it can go wrong in the blink of an eye. And well, I think Ovando, you know, I mentioned incidents earlier on, didn't I, when Cade Smith was extending corner exits a little too much. Well, I didn't even think that Ovando would fall victim to the incident limit here, but it is very easy to rack up those off tracks around here. He just got a bit too many of them, and then likely a 4X for that contact with Manella, which, let's be honest, I think it was more on Manella than Ovando there. Unfortunately, it's a no-fault incident system, which means both of them would have gotten 4 incidents from that, and that put Ovando over the limit.
And Ovando is down into 5th now. This is massive for his race. Could be massive for the season. We will wait for the next 3 weeks to find out if it will. But incredible moments in the dying stages here at Laguna Seca. Mobin Khan, though, all of a sudden, he's on for his first win of the year. You've got to give him credit for that. Nonetheless, Ovando, you can see it on his face. He is not a happy driver right now in his 222 car. And he's going to have to try and recover at the moment and maybe get past Maxime Grenon if he can, but just not what he wanted to see whatsoever. And we've got 5 minutes left. This race, is that a championship-defining moment right there?
I don't know. It may very well be. I mean, Ovando's championship lead over Diaz was only 14 points coming into this round. And yeah, you mentioned drop rounds. Well, yeah, Diaz's drop points are only going to be 35. Diaz was here at round 1, and his drop points are only 35. So you never know. That might change the face of the championship between the Solpec Precision Racing drivers.
Crazy scenes here at Laguna Seca. Just when we thought this race was, you know, winding towards a conclusion, we might see a battle for the lead. We get something that could change the outcome of the championship for something that, let's be real, that was not a big contact between those two drivers, Manella and Ovando, but in the end could have massive ramifications over the final 3 weeks. Zach Hebert himself now looking for P2 as he goes around the outside of a very unhappy Matthew Wyckoff, I do believe. In fact, that is Aaron Myers, who is 3 seconds behind Aiden Young, who is that GT4 in the foreground just there. But this is an interesting battle with only 3 minutes 30 to go on the clock. With the lapping that we've just seen of the leaders of Aiden Young, it now means that Mobin Khan will finish the race and Aiden Young won't be terribly far behind, and they won't have to be worrying about being lapped once again.
Oh, so we weave our way to the conclusion of this race. Michael Diaz still trying to keep Zach Hebert behind him and has, about a second's worth of advantage there, and is getting his way cleanly past the GT4s, but he does have some lapped traffic in his own class there in the form of, I believe that might be Fernando Rodriguez. And same from what we've seen from Ovando, just general mistakes every so often from Diaz, running a bit beyond the track limits there. You never know, we might see a few more in the way of black flags for incident points. And oh man, that happened to Rodriguez some time ago. Botched pass on a GT4 and getting back onto the racing line there. Maybe should have held the brakes a little more than that, but thankfully no one else involved. 2 minutes and 20 seconds remain. And we still have to think about the battle for the GT4 lead as well. Aiden Young did get that massive advantage over Aaron Myers thanks to Myers' mistake in the pit lane, but I think there could still be a chance of some kind of change here. It's 2.6 seconds between them. As we saw with Ovando and Khan, that gap can vanish in the blink of an eye.
We are, however, on the penultimate lap. I think Mobin Khan will cross the line with the checkered flag with only about 10 seconds after it has expired. So it's going to be close, but I do believe we are now on the penultimate lap. Not long for Aaron Myers to gain 3 seconds worth of time. Aiden Young will just be thinking about bringing it home from here. They'll dip their way through turn number 5 up towards turn 6. And Aiden Young will be very, very pleased about how this race is going. You can see in the background there, Aaron Myers, that purple and green car. The chasing the Delta team will be maybe pleased with the 2-3 once again. A great result for the team for their championship, but for Aaron Myers.
Oh, Khan's coming in.
Oh no.
What's happened to Mobin Khan? No black flag.
Incident limit. Surely instant limit.
No black flag for Khan. I think he might have underfueled it.
See, he comes towards his pit box. Will he go into the pit box? Mobin Khan, regardless, he has lost this win. He does go into the pit box. Mobin Khan, he's been on pole 3 times. He looked sure to take the win here, but he's underfueled the car. He will finish P5. And in all of that, after his fight with Boaz Angel Ovando hitting Manella, Ovando getting a drive-through, coming out P5, Khan will still lose out to Ovando, and all of a sudden, it's Diaz versus Hebert for the lead as we are on the final lap here.
This is crazy. This has completely changed in just the space of a few minutes. An hour's worth of racing about to come to its conclusion. Can Zach Hebert take advantage of a potential mistake from Diaz here to grab the win? Only a few more corners to go. Diaz just has to make his way on a couple of GT4s. And it looks like he will be clear, but only just. My lord, what a race. And it's fallen into the hands of Solprick Precision Racing, but probably not the driver who was expecting it.
Probably the most significant race of the season so far. What an evening. An hour really needed to decide it, but it will be Michael Diaz. He's led all of, 2 minutes of the race? He wins at the end here. The 17 will be our victor. Zach Hebert P2, and a big hand to Maxime Grenon, the 332 driver, who will cross the line 3rd for his first podium of the season. Or has he? Oh, he has. Oh my word, the timing screen did not like me there. I believe he's finished 3rd, and Ovando will finish 4th. I had a minor heart attack for half a second. Out of the final corner, though, a little less dramatic in GT4. Aiden Young took the lead at turn 1. Hasn't looked back since. He is a winner yet again here. The 427 goes, I believe, 4 out of 6. Indeed, he does. 4 out of 6 wins on the season, and he is continuing that incredible run of form that he carried all the way through last season. Aaron Myers P2. That championship battle will roll on to Europe for the final 3 races. but my, oh my, what an ending to that race. 15 minutes worth of PRL action that has absolutely capitulated the situation that we thought we had in the championship.
Yeah, it's crazy. The race is still going on between the McLarens of Romain Faux and Jeremy Rogers. They're racing hard to the line, and Kalen Tobin and the Aston Martin just behind them. They will cross the line in that order, but it was very close between them for the end for the top 5 in GT4. Those are the last cars to come across the line, and God, I can't believe what we just saw.
I often think to myself that this LMP3 GT4 Challenge is probably my favourite series that I'm on every week, and this is why. What an evening's worth of racing. The best race I've seen in PRL in a very, very long time. It didn't necessarily have the wow factor of overtaking. Didn't need it in the end. Michael Diaz won't mind. He led, as I said. I don't even think it was 2 minutes. I think it was about a minute and a half. He wins by 7/10 from Zach Hebert, who was never really in the conversation. He wasn't on the podium with 10 minutes to go. He nearly got the win. Grenon with his first podium this season is 3rd, and then it's the 2 drivers who we thought were going to be the top 2 in the race. Boris Angel Lavando, championship leader, P4 only for him, and that equals his drop round, so that will continue on into next week. Mobin Khan P5, and then the gap, Lando Tega over a minute behind our winner with P6. Daniel Oliver wasn't far behind him, with Lucas Wallace the only other driver on the lead lap. Fernando Rodriguez and Sanidakis 9th and 10th, well, they were a lap down of our leaders after such a crazy race. Further on, more drivers did finish this race in the LMP3s, and there they are. Well, Stephen Lakota was the only other driver to win, to finish the race here tonight. Christian Garreton, Chris Massey, Eric Fenson, none of them were able to see the checkered flag. I will say that fastest lap of 1:16.335 by Mobin Khan is the LMP3 lap record here in the PRL in this this Laguna Seca circuit. In the GT4s, Aiden Young wins again. Not the pole again, but he managed to overtake Aaron Myers, and he takes his 4th win in 6. Myers himself is still P2. We'll see how he feels after this one with his teammate Matthew Wyckoff. Good result again for the team. He finishes in P3. Terrafino, he undercut Romain Faux early on. Jeff Carfold in the chat mentioned it to us, and he didn't look back from there. Very lonely race in the end for him. He finished P4 ahead of a very tight battle of Faux, Rogers and Kalen Tobin, who were 5th, 6th and 7th. Justin Bracken was the only driver to have also completed 46 laps. Gignac and Cam were inside the top 10, but they were a lap down. Tristan Cadet, Willie Brennan, Matt Benson and Travis Pruitt were also a lap down, and they also finished the race, but they were the top 14. 15th, 16th and 17th went to Jerry Minella after his incident with Boris Lavando, Robert McGeehan and Lambert Jesse, and then sadly 2 non-finishers out of the 19 that started, Roy Brown and Cade Smith, rounding out our evening of entertainment, and I think we only apt to call it entertainment tonight. But that does mean Reese, that we can start to talk to our podium citizens this evening. I've dragged in Michael Diaz. He's here with you now. A surprise race winner, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, Michael, you probably weren't expecting that. I think we were expecting the incident limit and potential strategy miscalculations to be a factor here, but you were one of the drivers up the front to nail it.
I have absolutely no idea what happened. I know Boris had some very unfortunate luck with traffic, and that hampered his race, but other than that, I definitely lucked into this one today.
Yeah, we're thinking that Mobin Khan underfueled it. He had to come into the pits coming onto the final lap. But, the points total from this race is going to be massive for you. And with a slightly poorer round for Boris, it means that the championship is going to close up even more between you two.
Yeah, I think we're in it for an exciting finish. Let's see how that goes. It'll be fun to race Boris. I mean, we're teammates and all, but we still race hard and clean. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the battle if it's tight.
Yeah, well, we're going to the Hockenheim ring for the next round of the championship. Another circuit where some of the apex curbs are quite difficult, as at Laguna Seca, but it'll be flatter and wider, so maybe there'll be a bit less mayhem.
Yeah, for sure. Aside from Sector 3, I expect it to be much better with the traffic, except for that hairpin. I hate that hairpin. But yeah, I'll try to get some practice in and see if we get a decent result and keep fighting for the championship. It was close now.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, congratulations on what must be a very surprising victory for you, Michael. Hopefully we chat to you again in Germany.
For sure, guys. Thanks for the broadcast, and hopefully, yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Well, Michael Diaz there with a fantastic win here at Laguna Seca. In second place, another big surprise, Zach Hebert stood by with you, Dara.
Yeah, Zach, welcome in. Congratulations on the second place. I mean, how surprised are you to have finished in P2? It looked like you were going to be in that battle for the podium with the eventual race winner, Michael Diaz, when you were sitting in fourth. I mean, what was going through your mind when you saw the fact that you gained up to third and then gained up to second onto the final lap?
I got a call out from my spotter saying that that Boris pit. So the relative I saw, he pitted, and I was like, okay, so he obviously either hit incident limit or something like that. So I was like, okay. I was still trying to catch Michael just through that last half of the race after the pit stop and after my incident at the kink. And then I went back around, with 3 or 4 laps to go, and then my spotter says I'm in P2. I'm like, sure, we'll take it. Again, and then at that point, it was just trying to catch Michael, but he just had too much pace there at the end. We got, I think, probably a couple more laps. It would have been a little bit closer, but I'm just as surprised as you guys are, frankly.
I mean, for you particularly in the championship, you come into this P4, you're 29 points behind Boris. Does this give you a good chance, do you think, of trying to gain up to those top two, the sub-requisition racing duo? And how do you feel going into the final 3 races over in Europe?
I mean, absolutely, it gives me a better shot. I feel really good about the last 3 races. Hockenheim, I'm particularly quick at. Again, it's just a matter of trying to maximize the time that you get. But especially with Mobin and Boris finishing so low, again, it obviously gives me an outside shot to get a good chunk of points on them. But still, these last 3 races of the season, it's still going to be a close fight between all of us, just because we all have so much pace. And I mean, again, we're all going to be trying to push to try and get to that top spot. So we'll just kind of have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and we wish you the best of luck, Zach. It's been such a great first 2/3 of the season. Cannot wait to see how the final 3 races go. Wish you the best of luck. And I hope to speak to you again at Hockenheim.
All right, thank you so much.
Zach Hebert there. P2 man in the race. He's up in the top 4 in the championship. We'll see how he runs to the end of the season. But finally, Reese, for our LMP3s, it's Maxime Grenon. First podium for him. You're with him now.
Yeah, indeed. Congratulations, Maxime. Once again, I think all 3 drivers on the podium tonight didn't expect to necessarily be there.
No, definitely not. I honestly did not expect to be even in the top 5 this race. I've barely done any practice or racing lately, so I just went into it just to have fun, just have a good time. And turns out I had a little bit of pace and a good car.
Yeah, traffic would have been a big factor here as well. Laguna Seca, a very tight and twisty circuit with not much room, especially up the top of the track. There were probably a few scary moments on your way through there.
It honestly wasn't too bad. I really went into a vibe of really just taking it easy. No risky passes, no sands, just getting to the finish line. Honestly, it paid off because I barely had any incidents, any off tracks, and it somehow got me to the podium. That's a very strange situation.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. You only have 2 races that you've competed at this season, round 1 and round 3, but there could be potential for you to jump into the top 10 in the last few rounds of the season if you keep up results like that. So you must be feeling good.
Yeah, I'm not really racing too much for the championship. I'm mostly doing this for fun. I think it's always fun to get really, really, really good results. I think the racing here is always top class. In both classes, GT4 and LMP3, I think there's a lot of respect between drivers. It's much more pleasant to drive in a league like this. So hopefully maybe I can get into the top 3, but mostly I'm just here to have fun and enjoy racing other drivers.
Well, you certainly had fun tonight, and you're enjoying this podium finish. So we send our congratulations to you, Maxime, and hopefully we catch you in the remaining rounds.
Thank you, guys.
Maxime Granon there, finishing things off for the LMP3 class. And finally, Dara, seems we only have one representative from our GT4s here, and it happens to be our winner.
Yeah, Aiden, welcome in. Another win for you. Not quite pole once again, P2 in qualifying, so Arami's had the upper hand there, but talk us through the start, because what a launch you got. Did the fact that you had a favourable side of the grid help, or did you really just get that launch?
Honestly, when I saw the green flag, I was like, oh, here we go. Time to send it. I kind of went back to my 24 season 2 days. See green flag, send it T1. Got the move up the inside, then just tried to hold air into the outside. Move was clean, it worked. And then I defended position going into T1, and then from there, just tried to hold it throughout the rest of the race.
Hold it through the rest of the race, you did. Yes, another win for you. I do now believe that is going to be 10 wins in your last 15 races in this series. Are you gonna, I mean, how can you keep it up? Final 3 races, how confident are you going into them? Arami, is he still there? How confident are you to try and come up with this championship?
You know, Aaron's been putting in the work this season, and you can see it in his driving. Last season, the beginning of the season, I was kind of far out, and then towards the end of the season he started getting a little bit closer, and then right at the final race he was pretty much right there. And then this season, all season long, he's been there, so he's been my main target to beat for this championship this season. So the more work he puts in, the more work I gotta put in. It's all a battle of what it's gonna come down to is who's gonna put in more work, and then who wants it more for the championship. And I'm willing to do everything that it takes to make sure I can get my third.
With 3 rounds left, of course, we go to Hockenheim, we go to the Algarve, and we go to the Red Bull Ring. I will ask you which one's your favourite out of those 3 as we go to, but before I do ask you that question, I will tell you, I've looked at the Road Series track records provided to us by the guys at PRL. The only race winner in the GT4s in the last 3 years at Hockenheim is Aiden Young. The only race winner at the Algarve International Circuit, Aiden Young. Are you going to try and keep those records and keep your name being the only one there?
I mean, hey, I could try. That's all I can say. I mean, if the track's wet, even better.
We wish you the best of luck, Aiden. Congratulations again, winner again here at Laguna Seca, and we'll see what you can do at Hockenheim next week.
Yep, see you next week.
Young there, great to speak to our GT4 winner once again. But Reese, I have to say, I'm glad we've changed the clocks here in the UK to an hour earlier. So for me, it's an hour earlier than it would usually be at this time of the night. I know in the US they won't change the clocks until the end of this week, but I'm glad they've changed them because I'm not going to be able to sleep after that. What a race!
Yeah, that was super intense. I mean, I've had my requisite morning coffee, but I think the adrenaline from that's going to keep me up for a while regardless. And it's going to get even better next week as we go to the Hockenheim Ring. Going to be a fantastic round. Mark that date and time in your calendar and return here for some fantastic PRL Monday night action. Man, this championship just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, if people have been watching, if you've been watching for the first time, you're going to have to be here in 7 days' time. These 2 championships are going to come down to the wire. Also, of course, don't forget on RaceSpotTV, PRL action tomorrow night in the GT3s, Wednesday night in the trucks, Thursday night in the GT3 series, Sunday night, and you'll be back here on Monday night as well. We can't wait to see you then. Thank you for your company. Thank you for joining in the YouTube chat. We hope to see you in 7 days' time. But from us here, it's goodbye.